children can be kept next year. If they don't mind, just try and keep your kids next year. That's all. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيد مولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب. The first of our salawat and honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The discussion concerning the rizq, otherwise translated in the English language as sustenance, is a fundamental discussion of Islamic thought, and indeed a discussion which requires an in-depth examination, for it's a discussion which affects each and every one of our lives, a discussion from which many a lesson may be learned and many an example may be derived, and indeed a discussion with a historical basis and a contemporary significance. Many times in our lives, in many of the sentences that we use, the word rizq is constantly employed. You find, for example, that throughout your lives you may hear someone say to you, may Allah increase your rizq, or may Allah bless you with more rizq, or may Allah shower His blessings upon you with an increase of that rizq. You find therefore that throughout our lives the word rizq occupies a prominent position in much of our vocabulary. Yet you find at the same time that the word rizq is normally translated in a wrong way. In which way? And that we have a very narrow definition of the word rizq. Our definition is monetary. Whenever you hear anyone who comes forward and say to you, may Allah increase your rizq, automatically you assume that it's a monetary translation. Yet you find within the religion of Islam that the translation is a much more broad translation. The translation is one which has social and indeed economic repercussions. And indeed you find that within the discussion of the topic of rizq is a discussion of a social and economic background. In which way? In the idea that socially there is a question which arises. If Allah has written my rizq, then there is no need for me to work. As in, if many times we hear people say that God's written your rizq. If God has written my rizq, then certain people ask the question that there's no need for me to go out to earn a living. Allah has written my rizq already. Likewise, what do you find? You find that there is an economic question at the same time as well. And that economic question, what is it? The economic question is if that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written our rizq, then you find economically people ask, why are there poor people in the world? As in, if God looks after your sustenance, why are there certain people who are poor and certain people who are rich? Therefore, this discussion is one of the utmost importance, and one that requires clarification. For when we analyze the hadiths of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, you'll find that the definition is one which is much broader than what meets the eye. When you look at the word rizq, it's translated in the English language with the word sustenance. Sustenance implies that there is a sustainer. And indeed you find one of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is of course Ar-Raziq. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. In the munajat which we recite in the holy month of Ramadan, what does he state? He states, Mawlaya ya Mawlaya, Anta al-Raziqu wa ana al-Marzuq. Wa hal yarhamu al-Marzuq illa al-Raziq. My master, oh my master, you are the sustainer, and I am the sustained. Who is there for the sustained except the sustainer? The idea here that the Imam gives us is that in our life, the origin of our sustenance without a doubt is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. God is the originator of our sustenance. Any form of sustenance you find on this earth, the originator is the creator. And you find that it's not just us who is sustained. No, every creation in the human world, in the animal world, in the plant kingdom, their sustenance is protected by their creator. Hence the Quran states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. There is not a creation on this earth, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is maintaining its sustenance. You find two prophets of God in particular who are affected by this. The first of those prophets was the Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. The Prophet Sulaiman, as you know in the Quran, his story is mentioned in Surah An-Naml. Surah An-Naml highlights to us that Nabi Sulaiman was able to communicate with the animal kingdom. You find there's a number of stories within the Holy Quran which are titled after animals. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-An'am, Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah Al-Fil. And one of them is Surah An-Naml. In Surah An-Naml, Nabi Sulaiman communicates with the animal kingdom. The idea of this communication is for us to reflect on how God even sustains the animal kingdom. And what you find that Nabi Sulaiman, in many of the narratives, you find that Nabi Sulaiman speaks with the ant. When you look at those narratives, you find that there is a piece of reflection for us about the sustenance of the ant. On one occasion, Nabi Sulaiman speaks with the ant. While he looks at this ant, the ant leaves his hand, it walks for a certain period, then it comes to an animal which is on the edge of a stream. That animal opens its mouth, the ant enters the mouth of the animal. When the ant enters the mouth of the animal swims in the stream. It starts swimming, goes down to the bottom of the stream, then comes back up. When it comes back up, what does the animal do? The animal opens its mouth. The ant comes out of the mouth and comes back into the hand of Nabi Sulaiman. Nabi Sulaiman looks at the ant. He asks the question, what just happened there? I saw you walk away from me, enter the mouth of another animal, swim in the stream, then come back out, open your mouth, the animal came out. The ant replied, O Prophet of God, every morning I go towards the mouth of that animal, carrying a crumb of food. The animal swims to the bottom of the stream, because there's a worm under the rock at the bottom of the stream. The sustenance of that worm originates from Allah, but I've been used as an intermediary to make sure the sustenance reaches the worm at the bottom of the sea. As in at the bottom of the stream, or at the bottom of the sea, those animals that live, in the same way that you live above the stream and your rizq is protected, likewise at the bottom of the sea, or at the bottom of the stream, there are animals whose sustenance is being protected. I remember Nabi Musa alayhi salam in one narration, it stated that Nabi Musa, before he was about to pass away, he wondered to himself that who's going to look after my daughter after I die? Jibreel comes to him straight away. When Jibreel comes to him, he says to Musa, remember that stick which we gave you, the staff? He said to him, yes. He said, pick it up and strike a part of the sea. When he struck a part of the sea, he saw a rock there. He said to him, move the rock. So he moved the rock. Under the rock he saw a small animal there. He said to him, Musa, do you see that animal? He said, yes. He said, the Lord that could look after the animal at the bottom of a rock, at the bottom of the sea, and you're asking the question, who'll look after the sustenance of your daughter after you die? For every creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is a sustainer who maintains the sustenance of his creation. As in those of you who've been scuba diving, you go to the bottom of the sea. Haven't you seen those animals at the bottom in all their fine colors? Haven't you seen those beautiful animals? Do you ever ask yourself the question that I, the human being, am being sustained above the sea? Who's sustaining those under the sea? Under the sea, those creations are being sustained. Hence when the Quran states, وَمَا مِن دَابَةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا, the Quran is saying that every creation of Allah, its sustenance is maintained. A question arose. The first question that arose in the discussion on rizq was the question that if Allah or God has written everyone's sustenance, then what's the need for us to go out and work? What do I mean? I mean that there are many who today sit on the benefits of a government, don't they? When a government offers benefits, you find that there are many today who say, listen, I'd rather stay at home and I'll sit on the benefits of a government. Allah has written my rizq, and my rizq is meant to come through the benefits of the government. I go and collect a paycheck from the government every week. I pretend that I'm not working, even though I've got a few jobs on the side. And what happens is that that's my rizq being written for me. Socially, someone asked the question, that if God's written my rizq, is there a need for me to go out to work? Would you believe this Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi? The Imam has an interesting discussion on this fundamental area. Why? Because this area affects Muslims in 21st century Western society especially. And it's fundamental to our ethics when we live with non-Muslims. The Imam asks his companion, he had a companion by the name of Umar ibn Muslim. He says to him, Umar, where is Ali bin Abdul Aziz? I haven't seen him for a while. I used to walk in the markets, and I used to see Ali bin Abdul Aziz selling his goods. Now I don't see him anywhere. Where is he? He replied by saying, oh Imam, he's become of the muttaqeen. He said to him, what do you mean? He said he's decided to stay at home and fast in the daytime and pray in the night. He said, so how is he of the muttaqeen? He said, the Quran says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. So he wants to be of those who are the muttaqeen. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ is what? Those who have consciousness of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the doors for them. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. He'll provide him with an amount of sustenance which you cannot count. So this person decided to retire from working. He said, I'd rather pray in the night and fast in the day, and my Lord will look after my sustenance, and that's all that I need. Do you know what the Imam said? He said something beautiful. He said how history repeats itself. That when this ayah was first revealed, the same thing happened with the Holy Prophet and his companions. That when this ayah was revealed, the Holy Prophet was going out looking for his companions. Suddenly his companions weren't there. So where's my companions? He said, Ya Rasulullah, they want to be of the muttaqeen. So he said, what do you mean the muttaqeen? He said, the ayah, the Quran says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. So they said, we're going to have taqwa. We're going to stay at home. We're going to read Quran the whole day, or whatever was available at the time. We're going to read supplications, whatever you've given us, and we prefer to live by this. The Holy Prophet said something to them which is of the utmost importance today in any analysis of rizq. What did he say? He said, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Does not mean that you sit at home the whole day and you don't work. It means whoever has consciousness of Allah and uses the faculties Allah blessed him with, then Allah will provide him with sustenance from which he can't imagine. What do we mean? We mean that each of us as human beings has been given a different faculty in terms of a gift from God. Some of us are good with our feet. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. Allah blessed them with their feet, didn't he? That Messi, when he starts running around, can you catch him? You can't catch him. Mr. Mourinho found that out very recently. That you can't catch him. If he runs around, he'll destroy you. You won't go near him. Allah blessed who? He blessed Lionel Messi. He blessed these football players with their feet. They can go out and use their feet to earn their rizq. Others were blessed with their hands. This Roger Federer, Nadal, Allah blessed them with their hands. These two are the only two who ever reached the final, isn't it? But you find that these two, Allah blessed them with their hands. Even the Australian cricketers used to be blessed with their hands. But Mr. Ponting does not look like the blessings with him anymore. So we have some who are blessed with their hands, others who are blessed with their feet, others who are blessed with their mouths. There are some who can speak phenomenally. They are able to have the power of speech, the power of oratory. As an example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed every human being in a different way. For a human to come and say that I don't have a faculty and I'm going to stay at home and not work is a disrespect to the Creator who blessed him. And that's why the Muslim community leaves a lot to be desired in their behavior in the Muslim world and in the non-Muslim world. For a Muslim community to come and lie to non-Muslims and sit in their houses and benefit from the government and lie to them about their disabilities or their abilities, that is absolutely ridiculous. And then on top of that, what does someone come and tell me? But they stole our money, so we're stealing it back from them. MashaAllah, the logic of the Muslim. A school which is founded on Ja'far ibn Muhammad becomes a school like this. A school which originated with the height of spirituality and the height of ethics becomes a school where the governments, every time a Muhammad or an Ali asks for something, they know straight away that there is a problem. Don't you look at that idea that going out to earn is what? You use that faculty, God has blessed you. And the Holy Prophet himself has a wonderful line. He says there are 70 levels of worship, and the first of them is earning a lawful living. 70 levels of worship. The first of them is to earn a lawful living. I remember Muhammad ibn Munkadir narrates, I was walking in the streets in Medina, in the hottest day in Medina. And you know how hot Medina can become. In the hottest day in Medina, I'm walking in the street. What do I see? I see that nobody has come out to work, except one man. He's in the harvest of his garden and he's digging, and he's digging, and he's digging. I get closer. Who is it? It's Muhammad al-Baqir, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli. Baqir al-Ulum is digging and digging. He comes to me, says to him, "O grandson of the Holy Prophet, of all the people I would have expected to not be chasing the dunya, to not be chasing the world, it's you. I'd be thinking you'd be in your house." He looked at him and he said, "What's wrong with what I am doing? If I die in this state, then I have died in a state of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I die in this state, at least I didn't have to beg anyone for money. My own sweat bought the money." And my grandfather said, he loves the sight of a hand which has worked hard. Because that sight is what a human really is. Someone who uses the faculties. I remember driving home one day in London from the mosque where I was lecturing. On the radio there was this discussion on this issue. Should we stay at home and benefit from the government? Or should we go out and earn a living? The debate was happening on the radio. On my way back I'm listening. Someone, Englishman, phoned in. He said, "I never go out to work. I'm happy sitting at home. Every week I get a check. And that check I can use to look after myself. I don't have any skills. I haven't graduated from a university. So I get from the government money and money and money." The presenter did something very clever. He said, "Keep talking, keep talking." So he said, "Well, you know, my background is I came from here and I did this and I did this." And 3 minutes, 4 minutes he's talking until the presenter said, "Thank you very much." He said to him, "For 4 minutes you spoke in front of 8 million people without stuttering once. Allah's given you a gift with your mouth." Because there are certain people, when they come on live radio, their voice goes dry, they start sweating, they don't know what to say, even though normally they're good. You in front of 8 million people in London never once stuttered. It means that God, or whoever, you've been blessed with a voice where you're able to communicate with the people. Therefore, on the first level, the social question was what? The social question was that if Allah has written, do I need to work? No, working is a form of worship. Then there's the second question. The second question is, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks after our rizq, why are there poor people in the world? Because people ask this question, that God, how just is God? You claim that your God is just. There are poor people in the world who can't even afford to eat. They say if God looks after our rizq, why are they poor? There are a number of answers. The first answer is the answer of George Bernard Shaw, the famous philosopher, who said what? Who said that when they asked him, why is it that there are poor people in the world? He said, because of my hair. Someone said to him, what do you mean because of your hair? He said, because my hair. That's the reason there are poor people in the world. Someone said to him, what do you mean because of your hair? George Bernard Shaw, he had a lot of hair on one side and very, very little on the other. So he said that it's because of my hair. Good production, bad distribution. When people say, why are there poor people in the world? The production was always good. The distribution is bad. That sometimes in the world today, why are you blaming it all on God? Rather look at an individual where the production of wealth is fantastic, but the distribution leaves a lot to be desired. When we in Islam have a particular economic system, where at the end of the year, you give a certain amount back to the community, why do you give that amount back? Because there may be rich and there may be poor. Islam doesn't want equality like this. Islam wants equilibrium. It wants this to get a bit closer. When I give a certain amount to the treasury, I'm giving an amount so that the rich and the poor, the rich, there's a certain amount of equilibrium between them and the poor. You find that if in Islam you see there are Muslims who are poor, the problem isn't Islam, the problem is the Muslims. What do we mean? We mean that there may be times when the Muslims' production of wealth is fantastic, but their distribution may be corrupt. I remember at the time after the Holy Prophet had passed away, there were some Sahaba of the Holy Prophet who Allah blessed them with a great amount of wealth. As in Zubair died with only a few thousand palaces, not too many. And you had people like Talha and Zayd ibn Thabit. Allah blessed them with a great amount of wealth. But what do you find? You find that when this money was hoarded, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, Walid ibn Uqba, people like this, when they started coming back, and the hoarding began one after the other, you found that that's when the Muslims were in a problem. Amir al-Mu'mineen, many times there are people who sit on the minbar, they say that Amir al-Mu'mineen hates the dunya. Ali ibn Abi Talib does not hate the dunya. Ali ibn Abi Talib praises the dunya his whole life. The only time he stopped praising it was after the third caliph's demise, when he noticed that the Muslims were being what? Were being corrupted by their wealth. When you find that you've got this amount of wealth, the distribution has to be a distribution which is proper. That's on the first level. The second answer to that question, why if Allah looks after our rizq, why are they poor? There's a second answer. Who told you that being poor is more difficult and being rich is easier? Sometimes having that more money can bring more tests in your life. Isn't that true? As in, you find in your life that when you didn't have that much, your attendance at the mosque was more regular, and you were more committed in your prayers. Suddenly when the wealth started coming in, the busy time, you started saying, I can't make it to the mosque, I have another meeting and another meeting. Suddenly the responsibilities of how you spent your wealth, you began to start thinking of things which you never think of before. You find the Holy Prophet on one occasion, he was walking with his companions, they came near a village. When they came near this village, his companions were thirsty, and he was thirsty at the same time as well. So he asked the head of the village, he said to him, oh man, do you mind providing me and my companions with something to eat, something to drink? The man was the head of the village. The man replied, I'm sorry, I can't provide you with anything. He said to him, but we are hungry, we are thirsty. Nothing. He said, this is for my people. Rasulullah, when he left the village, he called out, Ya Allah, increase this man's rizq. When he went to the next village, he asked the person who was the head of the next village, he said to him that I want you to be providing my companions with something if you don't mind. The person looked at him, he said, Ya Rasulullah, you are the Prophet of God. You really think I would deny you something? I'll give you whatever you want. Whatever you want is yours. When the Prophet left this village, he said, Ya Allah, give him that which is sufficient. The companion said, Ya Rasulullah, the one who didn't give you anything, you said increase his rizq. The one who gave you a lot, you said give him that which is sufficient. He replied, because that which is sufficient is easier to deal with. When sometimes there's an increase in the rizq, in monetary terms, it can bring about many a test, many a difficulty. إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالَكُمْ وَأَوْلَادَكُمْ fitna. Your sons and your wealth may sometimes be a trial from us. So you find that number two. Number three, who told you that a poor person is unhappy and a rich is happy? Because when you ask me the question that why are there rich people in the world, why they're poor, who told you the poor person is unhappy and the rich is very happy? I tell you, there are sometimes rich in this world, but he'll swap all of his wealth to have his son come home and say salam to him. Isn't it? As in, how many of you see in this world who are very wealthy, they've got the biggest house in the world, but their sons don't speak to them anymore? Or their sons at the end of their life put them in a nursing home. That's it. Go and sit in that nursing home and live there. That person, his wealth, it couldn't bring a smile from his son or daughter. Whereas you may have a particular poor family, but look at them on their dinner table, how they smile with each other. That the daughter has a humility, the son has a respect. That father will say to you, this is my wealth. Look how rich I am. I have a son and I have a daughter who have respect towards me, respect towards my family, respect towards my principles. Finally, on this issue, it's important. Does that mean that the rich are bad because Allah has given them? That's another misconception we have. When you see someone rich in our Muslim communities, straight away the eye jumps on the person, doesn't it? As in straight away people are like, look at this rich person, look at it. No, hold on. If Allah provides him with the rizq of being wealthy, then are you questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who He's given? As in Nahj al-Balagha, there's that beautiful sermon when a person comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and says to him, my brother is not religious. My brother has just bought a very big house. Imam says, if that house is a means for the Quran being recited, and Salat al-Rahim being enjoined, and Allah being remembered, then the big house is a means of gaining Jannah. Isn't it? That if you have a big mansion, but in that mansion you remember the Quran, you remember the Ahlul Bayt, you remember your family, then what's wrong with having that mansion? That mansion is a wasila for you on the Day of Judgment. And that's why Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he divides rizq, he says it quite beautifully to his son Imam al-Hasan. He says, وَعْلَمْ يَا بُنَيْ أَنَّ الرِّزْقَ رِزْقًا رِزْقٌ تَطْلُبُهُ وَرِزْقٌ يَطْلُبُكَ. Know that sustenance is of two types. There is a sustenance which runs after you. There is a sustenance which you have to run after. Understand this very delicate division. There's a sustenance which runs after you. What does this mean? This means that that sustenance which we said earlier is written for you, that will catch you before your death catches you. It will catch you before your maut. It will be there and it will come to you. Yet how it comes to you, whether it's in halal or haram, is up to you. It's written that it will come to you. What's written for you tomorrow is written. But whether you perform that ability to bring it to you in halal or haram depends on your behavior. The money is the money, but how you earned it is different. When the Imam would go and pray in Masjid al-Kufa, he leaves his horse outside. When he leaves his horse outside, what does he do? He normally asks someone, please look after my horse. Please protect my horse until I finish my salah, and then I'll come out. One day he asked someone, he said to him, please make sure that you look after my horse. The person said, no problem, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He went to pray, he came back out, the horse is there, there's no saddle. Where's the saddle? I left this horse with a saddle. There is no saddle over here, so what did the Imam do? The Imam had to go and buy a new saddle. And on the way he said, if only this person had looked after my saddle, I was going to give him 2 dinar for looking after my saddle. When he's looking in the markets of Kufa, he's looking around, where's my saddle, where's my saddle, or where is the saddle which I can buy? What does he find? He sees his saddle. He says to the person, excuse me, my saddle, I want to look at it, I want to buy it, I want to have it back. The person says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, are you sure it's your saddle? Ali ibn Abi Talib knows his saddle, doesn't he? As in, the number of times he sat on that horse to defend this religion, you'd think he knows this saddle very well. So he said to him, no, I'm sure it's my saddle. The man said, okay, no problem, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Here it is to you. A person came only a few minutes early and sold it to me for 2 dinar. That 2 dinar was going to reach that person, wasn't it? Whatever happened, that day it was written, 2 dinar. But he could have got it in the halal way. He ended up getting it in which way? The haram way. The prohibited way. It's a shame in this world how many times we run after that rizq which is written for us. But we want to go through the scams, isn't it? We want to go under the table. We want to go through ways which are prohibited. There are certain Muslims in the world today, they have 20 names in the council. 20 names. Why? He wants to get a house from here, and another house from here, another benefit from here. You find that the rizq will come. But how you get it, whether it's halal or haram, is different. That's number one. He says there's a rizq which runs after you. Then there's a rizq which you run after. In other words, what's he saying? He's saying that use those faculties in every part of this universe. I say the word universe, I don't say the word earth. In every part of this universe, there is a rizq for you. In the dua after Salat al-Isha, what do we say? Allahumma innahu laysa li ilmun bimawdi'i rizqi. وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فأجول في طلبه البلدان فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. What do we say in this dua, this supplication after Salat al-Isha? We say that, Ya Allah, when I search for my sustenance, Ya Allah, I know that my sustenance may be where? It may be on the mountains, it may be in the sea, it may be in the earth, it may be in the sky. Someone says, what do you mean in the mountains? How can my rizq be in the mountains? Ask the person who collects honey from the hives in the mountains. His rizq is in the mountains. How can my rizq be in the sea? Ask someone who collects precious stones and sells them from the sea. How can my rizq be in the skies? Ask a pilot, he'll tell you how rizq is in the skies. How can my rizq be on the earth? I may be a businessman or a trader, my rizq is on the earth. But one thing I know is that while there is sustenance from every angle from which I can chase, it's Allah who can make the rizq easier for me. It's God who can open up the doors of rizq for me. And that's why Ahlul Bayt, what do they say? They say the true muttaqeen are those who, when they know Allah provides them with rizq, they give rizq away back towards His creation. It's all well and good for me to have rizq from God, monetary rizq. It's all well and good. But am I the type of human being who is generous or stingy? There are certain human beings, however much God gives them, what do? يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْبُخْلِ. They're the type of people who tell people, be stingy, don't give. Whereas the Quran says, ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. What we give them of rizq, they give away. They know that this Lord has given me so much. Why should I doubt He will not give me more? If I give towards His creation, He's going to give back to me. The family of this prophet, how many times in the Quran are they praised because of what they gave away? They gave away from themselves to a prisoner, to an orphan, to a captive. And the Quran said, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. When they gave away to a person who knocks at the door at a time when you are breaking your fast. How many of us, when we're breaking our fast, we just want to finish the meal straight away, don't we? They, when they're breaking their fast, if someone's knocking at the door, they give away. Miskeen, yateen, asir, it doesn't matter. If we have been given so much from our Lord, then why should we doubt that He will not give us again? When we give away, He'll provide us with more. The best side of a person who's appreciated rizq is one who's willing to give away. But the question arises, does rizq therefore only get translated as money and wealth? No way. In the school of Ahlul Bayt, rizq is much broader than just money. Why? Because one form of rizq is wealth. But there are other forms which are vital for you to understand as a human being in this world. The second definition of rizq in the school of Ahlul Bayt is good health. Isn't it? Good health. I can have all the money in the world. One virus can destroy me. One virus can destroy me. There are certain viruses in this world today. They'll give you therapy in one way or the other. But it's destroying you slowly, isn't it? It's killing you. How much money do you have in this world, but the virus can finish you? Isn't health a great form of rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And I mean it in a very simple way, brothers and sisters. Not in the deepest of ways. In a very simple way. How many of you, when you go to sleep in the night and your stomach is full, not only is it full, it's hurting you, wouldn't you do anything for that pain to go away? You'd do anything. And you keep trying and trying for the pain to go away, nothing goes away. You can't even sleep in the night without pain. All the money in the world, you may go out and even get a tablet, but the tablet takes a while for it to actually work on you, and the pain is still there, still there. Wouldn't you at that moment say, Ya Allah, take all my wealth, just remove this pain? How about when you have a headache, and that headache is destroying your day? You can't even stand as a human being. That human being, I'm telling you, without their health is nothing. As doesn't Amir al-Mu'mineen say, mankind, you came from a drop of semen, and you leave as a piece of dust. You don't know when you came, and you don't know when you're going. So why do you walk around like you know everything? That you as a human being should calm down sometimes. It's only one cell inside you, one virus, and you're finished as a human being. Calm down in your place. You need health as a human being. That health is a form of rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I tell you, whoever you are in this world, you may be the king of kings. When your health deteriorates, then it's the end for you. Sulaiman bin Abd al-Malik, Umayyad Khalifa, the whole of Bani Umayyah was in his hands. He used to have two slave girls who you used to like their company, if I put it mildly. One was called Salama, and the other was called Hababa. He used to have a slave girl in his house called Hababa. Hababa translated in English as the polite one. You find that he used to have this one, and he used to enjoy Hababa's company. He used to say to Hababa, you stay with me the whole day. Someone came to him and said to him, Sulaiman, you are Khalifa of the Muslims. You are the Khalifa of Bani Umayyah. Considering that you are the Khalifa of Bani Umayyah, you have to come and lead Salat al-Jum'ah. I said, which Salat al-Jum'ah? What are you talking about Salat al-Jum'ah? He said, Salat al-Jum'ah, you are the Khalifa, you have to come and lead. He came forward and he said, listen, I'm happy here with Hababa, me and Hababa in the hall together. And the Iraqis will know the irony of this particular name. You find that he's sitting here in this palace of his. His brother said to him, listen, come and lead the khutbah for Salat al-Jum'ah, come on. No. You go and do these religious things. Why would I want to do these religious things? Look at the kingdom I have. The arrogance. Look at the kingdom I have. That is pure arrogance. And I tell you, these people, their arrogance went much higher than this. Much higher. There were many times they said, we are more important than Rasulullah. Many times. But you find with him, he said very clearly, I've got this kingdom. Him and Hababa one Friday, they are sitting down. What are they eating? Roman, pomegranate. So they're eating the pomegranate. Take a seat, eat, take a seat. The whole kingdom is yours. Eating the pomegranate, Hababa's eating. She's talking with him, she's eating the pomegranate, seed gets stuck. That's it. She chokes him, passes away in front of him. Let your palace come and save her. You have all the wealth in the world, come save her. But you know if that pomegranate seed gets stuck and you can't get it out, then you know that you are not recovering. He lost his wealth. His wealth, he lost it. 15 days later, he died. Do you know how he died? For 15 days, he wouldn't allow anyone to enter the palace. He kept telling them, don't enter, don't enter. He just stayed sleeping on her dead body. Look at the person. All the wealth on this earth, but it was the health he couldn't buy. His Hababa suddenly left this world. Therefore you have rizq, health. Number 3, a form of rizq is what? Is your children are a form of rizq, aren't they? Our children. How many do you see in this world? Excellent people, fantastic people. But unfortunately they can't have children. When you have a child, isn't it a form of rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isn't it a form of sustenance? When you have a child, it's a form of sustenance from God. But with every form of sustenance, there comes a responsibility. That child which we gave you the baby pure. Don't give me that child back impure. That child, we gave you pure. Do not give me back the child impure. What do we mean by do not give me back the child impure? We mean that this rizq is a form of sustenance which is a blessing, but which has a responsibility. Today in the world, when you see the number of youth, mashallah, within this majlis today, then you know very well that within this particular majlis you see the youth. That youth is your responsibility as a parent to do anything to make sure that they are in the majlis of Ahlul Bayt. For too many years as parents, we were more concerned if we are happy while our kids run outside. But there has to come a time when a person says, this rizq of mine, even if I have to sacrifice, let the kid be inside, let them learn. Our kids are not people without intelligence. If the speaker is one who's prepared his topic and it relates to them, they'll listen. If the speaker is not relating to their life at all, they won't listen. You need that responsibility that look after the children. Bahlul, Harun al-Rashid says to him, look after my son. Bahlul says to him, what? He says, look after my son, protect my son. At that moment, Harun al-Rashid said to him, so what are you going to be for me? You're going to be the tutor of my son. Bahlul, as you know, used to act insane. Those of you who have heard my majlis a couple of years ago on the biography of Bahlul would have heard all the stories on this area. Bahlul said to Harun al-Rashid, I look after your son? He said to him, yes. He said, okay, very good. Leave your son in my hands, but you play by my terms. He said, okay, no problem. Bahlul says to the son, tomorrow you attend class at 1 o'clock and you follow my orders. The son turns up. Bahlul turns up at 1:45. The son is there at 1 o'clock. Remember, this is Harun Rashid's son. We're not talking about anyone. You're talking either Al-Amin or Al-Ma'mun or Al-Mu'tasir. He's sitting down there. 1 o'clock is the lesson. He says to him, he comes at 1:45. The son says, I want to eat my food. He says to him, stay quiet, you're not eating anything. The son made a mistake. Bahlul held his hair like this. He said to him, no more mistakes like this. The son went to his father and he said to him, how dare that man talk to me like this? Because you know, these sons, they're the sons of kings. They've got a tongue on them. He said to him, how dare he speak to me like this? At that moment, Harun Rashid said, what's wrong? He said, the lesson was at 1, he turned up at 1:45. I wanted to eat my food, he didn't let me. I made one mistake, he tapped my hair like this. Harun Rashid went to Bahlul and said, Bahlul, come in. He says, is this true what you've done? He said, yes, it's very true. He said to him, what do you mean it's very true? You're proud of what you've done? He said, yes, I'm very proud. He said to him, why? He said to him, I was teaching your sons lessons for life, which I hope you can teach them knowing that he is a rizq from your Lord. He said, what do you mean? He said, I was 45 minutes late for your son, and your son got angry. One day when he becomes Khalifa, and there are people waiting 6 hours outside his palace, let him remember the day 45 minutes of waiting made him angry. Number 2, it's very important that he understands when he missed one meal for the first time in his life, he never had his lunch. And look how angry he became. I hope one day if he becomes Khalifa and he hears there are Muslims with no food, he remembers this day of hunger. Number 3, I tapped him on his ear and look how angry he became. I hope he doesn't find it normal to use the sword to kill a human being when he grows up. A tap on the ear hurt him, yet you find that maybe when he grows up he finds it normal. The point was that that son of yours, that child, is a form of sustenance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A sustenance you have a responsibility to protect. Another form of sustenance which I'll come to in the future nights is your parents. Without a doubt your father and your mother are a form of sustenance from Allah. How many people from countries or people who are sitting in this majlis today, one day they see their dad, the next day they don't see their dad until a phone call says their dad passed away. How many people, their mothers were taken by a brutal dictatorial regime where they never saw their mothers again? For goodness sake, our own Prophet was born in this world and a few years later he doesn't have a mother or father. A mother or father are a form of sustenance for you. They are a form of sustenance who protect you, look after you, honor you. On many occasions you would find that our 7th Imam, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far salawatullah wa salam alayhi, on many occasions he would comment on how his father Imam al-Sadiq was a form of rizq for him in his life. that he would say Imam al-Sadiq instilled so many virtues in him, so much goodness, so much knowledge. And truly Imam al-Sadiq was a form of goodness for every Muslim in the world. That to have a teacher and an Imam like Ja'far ibn Muhammad is an honor for us all in our life. And you find that Imam al-Sadiq on many an occasion, you would find that amongst the teachings he would stress on was the memory of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He would stress on that. Why? Because he'd say one of the greatest forms of rizq in the life of a human being is that you had a sacrifice and a martyr like Imam al-Hussein. When you look at Imam al-Sadiq, how much of the literature he left behind for us about how we should protect the Majlis of Imam al-Hussein, about how we should even roll these cheeks on the grave of Abu Abdullah. In one ziyarah he says, Allahumma arham tilka al-khudud allati taqallabat bi-dharih Abi Abdullah. Ya Allah, have mercy on those cheeks that rub themselves on the grave of Abu Abdullah. He used to remember Imam al-Hussein on many occasions, and he used to remember nights like this, the night of the 12th of Muharram, the night of the 11th of Muharram. He'd remember nights like this on many an occasion. And especially on one occasion, one narration tells us how he remembered what happened on a night like this to the granddaughters of Rasulullah, who were alone on the night like this in Karbala, moving from tent to tent. What do the narrations tell us? They tell us that Mansur al-Dawaniqi wanted to burn the house of Imam al-Sadiq while the Imam was in the house. The narrations mention that when the Imam was in the house, he was sitting down with the granddaughters of Al-Muhammad. The narrations, what they state Al-Mansur ordered his soldiers that they should enter upon the house when the Imam is in the house, and they should burn the house. The narrations, what they state that the soldiers entered, they lit a fire in the house. When they lit a fire in the house, Imam al-Sadiq was running from one side of the house to the other, trying to protect the granddaughters of the Holy Prophet. What do the narrations mention? The narrations mention that the Imam, when he was running, he saw his daughters, some of them, their dresses caught fire. If we can limit the echo. Their dresses had caught fire. When their dresses had caught fire, the Imam, of course, was affected by this. The Imam was affected by seeing these daughters moving one way or the other. The next day, a man came to the house of Imam al-Sadiq. When he came towards the house, he saw Imam al-Sadiq, and the Imam was crying in a way he had never ever cried before. The man came towards him. He said to him, "O Imam, you are a member of Al-Muhammad. You have faced many a calamity, but I see you cry in a way I have never ever seen you cry before." He said to him, "Why is it that you cry in this way?" He said to him, "O man, I do not cry because of what happened within our house. Rather I cry because now I know what happened to my Auntie Zainab on the 10th of Muharram, when she ran from tent to tent protecting the granddaughters of Rasulullah. When I saw my granddaughters running one way and the other, I remembered the granddaughters of Imam al-Hussein when they ran from one tent to the other, and my auntie was looking to protect them." That's why on a night like this, the night of the 11th of Muharram, one narration mentions how difficult it was for Sayyidah Zainab and for the daughters of Imam al-Hussein when Shimon bin al-Jawshan ordered that the tents are to be burnt. These daughters were running one way and they were running the other. One narration mentions that one of the daughters of Imam al-Hussein, the fire caught hold of her dress. When she was running away, a man came towards her. She looked at him and she said to him, "Oh man, are you with us or are you against us?" The man said to her, "I am neither with you nor am I against you." She said to him, "Have you read the verse in the Quran when Allah states, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ, and as for the orphan, do not hurt them?" He said, "Of course I have." She said to him, "أَنَا يَتِيمَةَ أَبِي عَبْدِ اللَّهِ, I am the orphan of Abu Abdullah."
She then said to him, have you read the verse in the Quran? وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. As for someone who asks you something, do not reject them. He said, of course I've read this verse. At this moment she said, may I ask you to point me towards the land of Najaf? He said to her, why? She said, so I may complain to my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. She looked towards the land of Najaf and she said, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, come towards the land of Karbala and see what they've done to the daughters of Imam al-Hussein. Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, come and see how they've treated us. They burnt our tents and they've made us move from one way and the other. That's why Sayyidah Zainab, it was difficult for her seeing their daughters moving one way and the other. Sayyidah Zainab herself, one narration, what does it mention? It mentions that on the night of the 11th of Muharram, Sayyidah Zainab was looking for Sukaina bint al-Hussein. She wanted to see, where is this Sukaina? I can't see her anywhere. She saw the daughters, but where's Sukaina? She suddenly saw Sukaina sitting on the ground next to her body. Sayyidah Zainab walked towards Sukaina. She wanted to see whose body she was sitting next to her. When she came near her, she saw her sitting near the body of Imam al-Hussein, and she heard her say, oh my father, Abdullah, who severed your head from your body, who is the one who mutilated your body? Why do I see the marks of the horses on your chest? Sayyidah Zainab on that same night on the 11th of Muharram, she didn't want to fall asleep. She wanted to protect the daughters of Al-Muhammad. The narrations mention that at the end of the night, her tiredness overcame her. She fell asleep for a moment. In her sleep, she saw her father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. The narrations mention that in the sleep, she saw a man dressed in black walking towards her. She said to the man, oh man, if you want to take us as a prisoner, then know that we are prisoners. Oh man, if you want to harm us, then know that we have been harmed. At this moment the man said to her, Zainab, do you not recognize your father? When your father comes towards you, she then said something beautiful to him. She said, oh my father, why didn't you come into the tent of Muharram? When you saw shivers sit on their chest, oh my brother, on the night of the 12th of Muharram, when they put them as prisoners, they were going to take them to Kufa. It's narrated, Umar bin Sa'ad came to them, he said to them, that if you want, we'll help you, O ladies of Al-Muhammad. We'll pick you up and we'll put you on the horses. Imagine, this Zainab who no one had ever even come near her, now the men want to come and touch her. They want to pick her up and put her on the horses. The narrations mention, say that they turned around and said, don't worry, I'll put the children on their horses. She picked up Sukaina, she picked up Ruqayya, she picked up the ladies, she then picked up Kulthum. With Kulthum she had picked up Imam Zayn al-Abidin. I ask you, who was there to pick up Sayyidah Zainab? As soon as she came towards the horse, she realized that there's no one to pick her up. She looked towards the Furat and she called out to Abu Fadl Abbas. She called out, oh Abu Fadl, can you see me now? Look at me, I have no one to protect me. One poet narrates as if he replied back to her, oh my dear Zainab, if I had my hands I would have picked you up, but they took my hands away from me, and if I had my eyes I would have watched over you, but they put an arrow into my eye, and if I had my heart, then my heart would have bled over you, but my heart bled when I saw my brother killed on the ground.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al-Muhammad, to allow us to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Allow us to be amongst those who receive his intercession in this world and the hereafter. Allow us to be amongst those who are sustained both economically and in terms of our health and in terms of our children. For the originators of this Majlis, may Allah bless them with His mercy and surround them with His mercy and allow them to be amongst those who receive the intercession of Al Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it the loudest of your salawat.
Brothers and sisters, if I could get you to stay back for a few minutes, please. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just a few announcements, brothers and sisters. But first of all, as you all know, on the 10th of Muharram, before Imam Hussain went to battle, he made a very distinctive call. And he made a